everybody, and welcome to Sam Jose. I am Sam, and this is
Jose.
And welcome to Wine Talk this evening. It's a wonderful evening on a Friday night here in April in Orlando, Florida, or the metro area anyways. Tonight, we are switching it up. So if you're joining us, thank you so much for joining us. And we love these episodes so that we can connect with you and kind of have a chance to chat since we're all stay at home right now for Florida. Now, the news today is that it's opening up a little bit here and there, but we'll see how that goes. We'll see. We're not going to talk about that this evening. So normally for these episodes, we have done a lot of red wines, but tonight we are going to switch it up to a white wine, and not only a white wine, but a sparkling white wine. Good evening, Kim. Welcome. It's good to have you. Tonight we're doing a Prosecco. Proseccos are from Italy. They are different from Champagne because Champagnes are from France. Now, Proseccos, the other additional thing that's different about them, Proseccos are made from a Prosecco grape, or when the European Union took over and some of the laws surrounding alcohol as far as wine production goes, Prosecco was made from the Prosecco grape, and the grape was renamed to the Galera grape, or Galera. I don't know how it's pronounced precisely, but I'm sure there's someone that can leave a comment and let me know for sure. But the difference between a Champagne from France and a Prosecco from Italy, while I tell you this, Jose can go ahead and open the bottle. This one I purchased at just a local supermarket. So this should be one that you should be able to find at most of your local wine shops, let's say. Prosecco's, the other difference other than the grape that they're made with is the fact that the second fermentation to get the carbonation is done inside the stainless steel tank instead of the bottle. So with the Champagne, they're going to do that second fermentation to get the carbonation or the sparkling. They'll do that in the bottle. Way to go, Jose. He always knows how to open a bottle of sparkling.
Yeah, that was a loud one, but...
We like a good sparkling here and there. I like the slightly sweeter ones. He likes the brut ones or the drier ones that just zap the moisture out of your mouth. But I'm going to like a sweeter one. Now, this one is supposed to have fruit-forward notes. From what the label states, we're going to go ahead and see
apples.
Peaches and apples.
So we'll see.
Which means it may have that citrus notes to it, which can sometimes be something that I don't necessarily like as far as the tartness from there, but we'll see. We will see. So yeah, I'm really excited to try this one. The other thing I want to show you is the cork with the sparkling. They're going to be a little bit different. They have kind of a wedge shape to them. When they go in the bottle, they've got the pop, and there's a cage that'll go down to support this and keep it down in the bottle, because with the sparkling, a regular cork would pop right out with the pressure. A sparkling bottle of wine is going to have more pressure in it than a car tire on a hot day. So there's a lot of pressure in that bottle, so be careful when you open it. Let's go ahead and try this wine.
Yes, finally.
Ooh. Cheers.
Cheers.
If you are drinking an adult beverage, go ahead and let us know what you are joining us with, and we'll go ahead and give you a shout out. And thank you so much for joining us, because we definitely enjoy having these meetings. Yeah. So tonight's episode, if you're just joining us, welcome. We're enjoying this Prosecco from Italy.
That is definitely your kind of wine.
Yeah, it's a sweeter one for sure.
Hi, Danielle.
We don't have flutes tonight, so these are just regular wine glasses for the Prosecco. Probably should have put that in the freezer, huh? It's not as cool as we would generally like our sparkling, but we're going to go ahead and enjoy it this evening. Give a shout out to some of the people watching. We've got Kim, Danielle, Marie. Thank you so much for leaving your comments and giving us a shout out. Go ahead, if you're watching, give us a shout out. We're going to get to our stories this evening. Tonight's story time is, what was the topic?
Fun places that we've been to.
So I've got a couple of stories lined up. We've been to a lot of really fun places together and separately, because we met later in life a little bit. I guess I'm in my 30s and Jose's now in his 30s, but late 20s when we first met. But we've done a lot of traveling. We love traveling. We love exploring. We've been overseas. We've been to Barcelona. We've been to on the Med cruise. We've been down to Mexico together. We've been domestically. I'm going to talk about our trip to St. Louis. because I thought that was a cool experience. We went to St. Louis during the solar eclipse. So we were at the St. Louis Arch for the solar eclipse, but I'll leave that for later. I talked about the wine, so I opened it up tonight. I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Jose so he can tell us a neat place that we...
See how he's doing that? It is now the, second or third time that you're like, you get to start the stories this time. Danielle, hey, my after pop. Add a little early baked sweet and garlic nuts are just about to come out of the oven. Ooh.
Sounds great. Enjoy that. Well, you can play us in the background if you want to, or come back and check in later and see the rest of the episode, because we got some fun stories.
Baked ziti and garlic nuts will probably go really well with this Prosecco.
Yeah, probably would. So,
but anyways, back to the story. I'm going to talk about one that you weren't there for.
That's fine.
I got one. I was actually... This was right when I graduated from high school. So...
Throwback.
Yeah. But it was when I went to... down to Venezuela. Which a lot of people don't know that I've actually been to Venezuela before. But I went to Margarita Island, and then I went to the capital, which is Caracas. But I'm going to talk about Margarita Island, just because it was the first time I actually got to fly like internationally and into a place where the language was similar, but it was still different, and the safety aspect was like very minimum, so it was kind of a scary
thrill there.
It was an
adventure.
It was adventure, yeah. But also kind of like if you're not used to traveling, like if I go now, I'll be like, it's fine. But that was the first time I actually flew out of the country, and I didn't know what to expect or anything. And then once like we had so many flights that we had to take, that we had like this little tiny plane, the first little tiny plane I've ever been into. Even the flight attendants were wearing like bikini tops. So I was like, where are we going? Like, it's just like the movies where like, oh, it's a tropical paradise, you get to go away, and even the flight attendants are wearing this stuff, but whatever, aside from that. But we land and we get our bags, we go out to grab a cab, and this guy comes out of nowhere and he's like, I know that you guys think that they're actually going to take you the best route, but please just trust me on this one. And we're like, what do we do? So of course, we decided to hop on with that random person that just said, trust me. And he did actually give us a better route, because he's like, the route that you guys are wanting to take, there's some kids with throwing rocks and stuff, then actually stealing from the cab drivers and their passengers.
That's scary.
So he's like, so they're all going to be going that way. I'm going to go a longer way, but I'm not going to charge you that. And we're like, that's nice. So we actually made it there a lot quicker than we expected. But it was so fun. That ride was just really cool, because you can tell where like the cops were heading over to the other direction because there were these kids causing problems. But we stayed at this like all-inclusive resort.
Nice.
But it was really weird because there were just all these walls, like huge, like 20 feet walls, just covering the whole entire resort. So it was kind of interesting. But
the like barricades or from the outside?
Yeah. Because outside it was just like these houses that were just falling apart. And then you have this ginormous resort.
Inclusive resort.
So we're like, oh wow, just, that was the first time I actually got to see you just go over the wall and there's just, houses that are falling apart. So I kind of felt a little bit weird about seeing that and me living this great vacation that I'm having. But the food was amazing. The people were really nice. The beaches were beautiful.
Oh, that's good. I've always wanted to go to Venezuela. Yeah. There's some beautiful landscapes.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. The place itself is really pretty. I do want to go back and, check it out. But
it's a little scary over there for Americans, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely go with somebody that that knows that place very well. There's family members that can actually tell you what to look for and all that stuff. Because if you're there as a tourist, it might be a little bit scarier. But since we were with locals and they kind of said, don't wear that shirt, don't wear that, don't do this, it was a little bit easier. So yeah, that's my story time for that one.
So I'm gonna oh, sparkling.
He does
Not
not do
Corona.
well.
No, I don't. I have drinking problems, and if you've seen the movie Airplane, that makes perfect sense to you. But we're going to jump over to a domestic trip that we took together just a couple of years ago. I always wanted to see a solar eclipse somewhere, as close to totality as possible. And we planned a trip. Well, I knew I was going to do it when the one hit back in 2017, so a couple of years ago. And this was our first big trip together.
Yeah.
We'd never taken one before, but I planned one. I have family that live in Illinois, and at the time my brother lived in Chicago, so we definitely went to Chicago after that as well. We flew into Chicago, and with our work schedules and everything, it was planned really tight because I wanted to cram as much into this trip as I possibly could for both Jose and myself, because he had never been to Chicago before. He had never been to St. Louis before in the Arch, and my parents' house, which is 2 hours from St. Louis and 3 hours south of Chicago, is kind of in the middle of all of that. So I tried to cram it all into one trip. Excuse me. Oh, sparkling. That was not classy. But anyways, I wanted to cram as much into this vacation to really enable us to experience these things together, because there was some really neat stuff. But for me, it was always a goal to kind of see a solar eclipse in its totality, and to be at a really kind of iconic location such as the St. Louis Arch, I thought would be a really cool idea. And it was. So we did. We flew into Chicago, and it was really tight because we wanted to make it down the next day to St. Louis. So we drove to my parents' house, so it was a 3-hour drive after the flight up to Chicago from Orlando. And we were really tired. And we got a few hours of sleep at my parents' house, and then we left fairly early so that we could make it for the eclipse, which was, I think, at like 10 or 11 in the morning. And then we went up the St. Louis Arch later in the day. But it was really neat. We went to the St. Louis Arch. We drove down there. He had never been there before. He had never been to the Midwest. So driving from central Illinois down to St. Louis was really neat for him, because he got to see the flat nothingness and the corn and soy fields, which is most of Illinois if you've ever been to the state.
If you think Florida is flat,
Go west.
go west. Nothing.
Before the Rockies, there's not a whole lot there. Well, there's a lot there. It's just not elevated. But going back to the story, it was really neat because we went to the Arch, and I thought it was going to be busy. I thought for something as far as a big event like that, an eclipse, there would be a lot of people there. And St. Louis did have another event going on over, I believe, where they had the World's Fair on those grounds. They had a big event. But by the Arch, there weren't many people. So we were here by the Arch. We were at the base of one of the legs. And it was just really neat to kind of watch the solar eclipse and all of that take place. And there was only a handful of people around us. And we got some really great photos and videos of us. And then afterwards, we went up the Arch. And if you've never been to the St. Louis Arch, as far as monuments within the United States, it's a really neat one. Engineering wise, it is a incredible monument as far as the westward expansion goes, which has its negatives to it, of course, but it's just a beautiful structure. Engineering wise, it's elegant, it's light but impactful, and the arch itself, engineering wise, the elevators are really neat, and going up in it. What were your thoughts when you went up into the St. Louis Arch?
I didn't think it was possible to fit an elevator into the arch because it's so high up that it looks like this real skinny little thing. And then when you get into the elevator, you're like, this thing is so tiny.
It's like a train elevator.
And then they're like, oh yeah, we can fit, like, is it 6 people?
5.
5 or 6 people, whatever. And you're literally like crammed in there. So I'm like, what? I always think of what's the worst thing that could happen. Every scenario goes by in my mind. But you start moving and you're like, how is this thing, like, it stays flat the entire time. Like, you can see little motors that it has to balance itself out, and as you're going all the way up. But then they just get smaller and smaller and smaller. So if you have a little bit of claustrophobia, just think about it before you go up. But then once you actually get to the top, it actually does open up a little bit. And it was actually really neat. Good thing it wasn't really windy, or else I would have
It would have
freaked out a
been
little bit.
waving in the wind,
Because
which
you
I
could
felt.
feel
I
it a
felt
little
before.
bit.
I've been up the arch like 5 times.
But
'cause
it
I
was
lived
really
in
cool.
Illinois, but he had never been.
I think everybody should go and do it. At least visit once.
It was neat. It's really neat. It's one of those.
Our coasters from our.
Oh yeah, that's from our trip to Chicago. We went to Chicago after that, and he had never been to Chicago. And I love Chicago. It's a beautiful city. It's got some really, really great architecture and culture there. And you've got that Midwest mentality as far as the friendliness. Still in Chicago, and we come from Orlando, so there we are in front of the arch. And if you visit our Facebook page or Instagram page today, I shared a picture of us kissing in front of the arch. I thought that this story would be really good with that photo today. And so check that out at Welcome to San Jose on Instagram if you haven't followed us yet. So that was really neat. We have some more stories. I think we'll do another day as far as videos go with just stories from our med trip this past summer. And then we'll do another episode with our trip to Cozumel and to Chichen Itza, because we've been to some incredible places together. Separately, he's been to Venezuela and several other Nantucket. He's got some great stories from living in Nantucket and up there in New England. And I've been on the Inca Trail and to Machu Picchu and Scotland, Ireland, and we've both been all over the Mediterranean and to Rome. So we've got lots of great stories, and we love traveling. So do you have any more stories for tonight? I think that's good for this evening.
That's all I got for now.
So thank you for watching this episode of Wine Talk. Again, we are enjoying this great Ruffino Prosecco from Italy. There's the label one last time for you. Like I said, I did pick this up at basically just a local supermarket, so it should be one that's pretty accessible to you here in the United States. Again, Proseccos come from Italy, whereas Champagnes come from France, and any other sparkling, which can come from any other region, is just a sparkling, because there's strict regulations with wine. And then this evening we had our great adventure stories, great places we've been. So thank you for joining us. We're going to, again, have another episode of this next Monday. So join us on Monday night for that. Mondays and Fridays for Wine Talk here with Welcome to San Jose. Next episode, I believe we have another red wine that I've purchased.
Yep.
So Prosecco tonight, red wine next week. So join us again at Welcome to San Jose. Thank you so much, and you have an amazing evening.
Bye.
Cheers. Quick and easy.